I feel like what the person needs is, like you said, a tune-up. Just tell me. That's how I'd want somebody to tell me. Just tell me what I need to do, or tell me what it is that I need to do so I can feel better or I can move forward.
Katie, let it out with Katie. Let it out with Katie Dalebout, enthusiast and curator of people and ideas you need to hear.
Hey guys, welcome back. I hope that your new year is off to a great start. Thank you so much as always for listening. I have a little bit different from the usual episode for you today. There is a guest, however, it's not really an interview. It's more of a time where you're going to learn a little bit about me, because the guest today is psychic medium Chris Medina. And not only are you going to hear more about what it means to be a psychic and a medium and what the difference is, because I didn't know, you're also going to learn a lot about me, because he does a psychic reading of me, right? I've said me like 12 times, which is fitting for this episode. He does a psychic reading for me on the podcast. It was really cool. So if you're curious about deep, vulnerable, very present things about your host, then this is the oversharing episode for you. And I don't think it will be boring. I think you will get some value from it, from just learning, why it can be valuable to speak with a psychic. It wasn't really something that I had done before, but it was a really cool experience. We recorded this recently, just at the very end of December, just before the new year, and Chris was so sweet and kind, and I just really liked the guy, and I loved my session from him. I got a lot of value from it, and I hope you do too, and I hope it maybe inspires you to check out doing something similar, or maybe not, or maybe you find it funny or interesting. He's a very fascinating, funny person, so I know you'll at least be entertained, and you'll learn these intimate details about my life, which might also be interesting. So it gave me chills, actually, how spot on a lot of the things he predicted was, and both on this call and things that he told me after. So I hope you guys like this episode. If you want to talk more, if you have questions or just want to say hi, the Facebook group is probably a really great place to do it. We have over 1,000 people in there now, but it's still small enough that it can feel intimate and cozy, and we can chat with each other, and I feel like I get to know you guys the best in there, which is really fun. So if you haven't joined that, join that. The link is in the show notes. Also, I've been loving my email list and sending things that are inspiring to me and sharing things that have helped me. So sign up for that. I haven't been sending it as much as I want to lately, but hopefully I'll get it back to being monthly or weekly, or I don't know, just more consistent. But join that, sign up for the Facebook group, and I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. I'll talk to you at the end. Share this episode if you liked it. Leave a review on iTunes if you like the show. And I love you guys. Thank you again for listening, and I will talk to you at the end of the episode with the emoji for the episode, so stick around for that. Welcome to Let It Out, Chris. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. I'm so glad that we connected.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we're connected too. It sounds like it's going to be fun.
I know, it's going to be super fun. So you're in LA, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where did you grow up again?
I grew up in Simi Valley, California.
Okay, so you've always been on the West Coast. And then what brought you to Los Angeles?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. So that's another area. I'm just don't geographically know the area. So you kind of were born and raised right in that place.
Simi Valley is like a little suburb off of Los Angeles. It's actually in Ventura County. It's like 15 minutes away from LA. Yeah.
Cool. I love LA. I was just there, and I'll be back in like a week, and it's so amazing. I can see why you would want to grow up there and stay there.
Well, when you come out, you definitely have to reach out, and we can hook up and take you for a tour around LA and show you where I grew up.
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm so excited. That'll be amazing. So introduce us to you, or I guess I know you a little bit. This is our first time chatting, but I heard you through my friend Alexi's podcast. Like, we were chatting a little bit before we started recording, and tell everyone, what it is that you do, what your gifts are. You are a psychic and a clairvoyant. What's the difference? I guess maybe we start there with those words.
Yeah.
Is it just semantics, or like, what's the difference with those words?
Yeah, I am Chris Medina, psychic medium. I've been psychic my whole entire life. I mean, I know people say that, they have, that they had some sort of accident or something, or some kind of traumatic experience that initiated that. But I was born this way. It's been with me as far as I can remember. I'm also a medium as well, too. The medium part of me doesn't always come out. A lot of times people, try to... they don't, a lot of times with again, people, what they do is they try to contact spirits. I don't try to contact them. If they are willing to come forward, I will speak with them. So I don't go, it's not something that is always on, if that makes sense. Like the psychic part, I'm always able to read people, look at somebody, pick things up about whether it's their past, present, or future, or things that they're struggling with. And if there's somebody on the other side that had died, or that they're missing or wanting to reach out to, sometimes those people will come through and leave messages for them, want to reach out and talk to that person specifically. That's how that part works. Okay,
got it.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between clairvoyant and psychic?
To me, it's all one and the same. I mean, you're using your intuition and your ability on both. A clairvoyant is the ability to see, I believe. I'm not hip to the lingo. All I know is that I'm psychic. I'm able to predict.
Yeah, totally. So it's all semantics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a gift at times, and it can definitely be somewhat of a burden at times, especially when it comes to your own personal self, looking at things or relationship type issues, just picking up things on people that, because it's always on.
Right.
It never shuts off. So,
is there a way that you can, I want to get back to like kind of when you said you had these gifts your entire life. Did people in your family have these gifts? How did you know that you had these gifts? How did you talk about them? Was there a safe space growing up to talk about them? And then how did you protect yourself? Or, even now, this is like a bunch of questions I'm asking at once, so feel free to take your time with this. But I want to know now, you said it's always on, but how do you turn it off when you have to, when you're in a situation, or can you? Is that something you can even do?
No, I can't turn it off. It is always active. It is always going, even while I'm sleeping. Wow. I could pick things up, but as a child, I mean, as far back as I could remember, I've always had it. My dad is a Apache Indian, and he has the ability to, but he is scared to death of it. He actually gets to see spirits, entities, whatever you want to call them, ghosts, right up front. He does not want to communicate with them. So being able to, growing up with my dad that had the ability, most of his side of the family has it. So growing up with him, he was able to kind of nurture it for me. I didn't feel weird talking to him about it. He would actually encourage me to talk about what I saw, what was going on. He's a biker, so growing up with that, growing up around Harleys all the time, and his friends, they would always come over and they would trip out because they would always ask my dad, "Hey, bring the kid out," and I would give them readings.
Wow.
And I didn't know what I was doing. My dad was like, "Well, what do you see when you see this person?" And I would tell them what I saw for that person, or my dad would ask me while we're driving in the car or on the bike, what do you see of that person over there? And I would just start telling him things, and he would trip out. He's like, "Where are you getting this from? Do you see it? Do you hear it?" And I'm like, "It's just, I don't know. It's just, everyone always asks me that, and I can't explain it. It's just stuff that's, I guess, downloaded or inputted in my head."
Wow. That's so interesting and fascinating. That's been with you your entire life. So when did you know that you wanted to make it your career? When did you how did you start using these gifts other than what you just shared with your dad?
I've always used it, but if you would ask any of my friends that I grew up with or my family members, is Chris psychic? Would you call Chris psychic? Right now, they would probably say, yeah, I guess you could say that. But growing up and being around it and using it all the time, it was more like advice to people. Like they would always come to me for advice, asking, I remember being in second grade, and I went to a private school, so we had, teachers' aides that were still in high school, and these girls would ask me, what do can you tell me about my boyfriend, or want to discuss things with me that were personal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, it's funny. I look back on it and I was like, I guess you could really say, if anybody were to look at, were on the outside looking in, they would say that kid is psychic. So again, I growing up using it all the time, talking to my friends about it, family members. It started getting more hardcore into my late teens. I did realize that I had the ability to do this, and I did know that I would end up using it as far as for a career later on in life. But I had a regular 9 to 5 before before I started delving into this. I actually worked for an insurance company, doing insurance claims and things like that. And I'd always been told, don't get used to this type of lifestyle. Things are going to change for you. And throughout the years, I would have lessons that would come up about people, visions. And then in about 2007 or 8, the medium side started coming out more. I don't know if you're familiar with who Bill Cooper is.
Mm-mm. Who's that?
Bill Cooper is a conspiracy theorist. I didn't know who he was at the time that he was visiting me. All I knew was that this angry man was coming through, telling me about conspiracy theories, the government type things, and took me around, showing me different things, and told me that things are going to change for you in a couple years. Be on the lookout for it. Your whole life is going to change. Right? You will not recognize who you are in a few years. And so fast forward to 2014. Things changed dramatically. I ended up leaving my job. It just was push came to shove. I could feel the energy, and I got so used to the money. I'm a Taurus.
I am too.
Oh, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you know how it is. We worry about money. We like our security. We like our comfort.
Yeah.
I was hooked on the money. I was like, I would argue with my guides. I would say, there's no way that I'm going to leave this. If that's how it's going to be, then you're going to have to make it so it has to be, because I'm not going to jump. And it did. It got to the point where things got a little hairy, and I had to jump. And then it took over. I decided I was not going to go back to the 9 to 5. I had told my partner that I wanted to delve more into the psychic type stuff. I wanted to pursue that. That's what they were telling me I needed to do. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, just start booking stuff. So the first event that I ever did was Comic-Con. I did the Portland, Oregon Comic-Con, and I was the first psychic to do it. And from there on, it just trickled down into this big thing where I'm on television, I'm on podcasts, radio, doing appearances. So it took over.
Oh, that's so cool. So it kind of sounds like you leaped and the net just kind of appeared because you were doing what you were meant to be doing.
Yeah, I could sit here for like 20 hours and tell you how it all went. It just that's the gist of it. I mean, it just growing up and knowing and being so used to how this works. They would, when I say they, I'm referring to my guides. I don't like to say guides. A lot of times people are like, oh, those are your guides or your angels. I usually just say they. Mm-hmm. Whenever it was time to move and I wouldn't do what I was supposed to do, it would get to the point where I would be forced to have to do it, and I would know. You're not listening to what we have to do. I mean, I was in relationships that were bad for me, where they were telling me, you're wasting your time here.
Wow.
You're not supposed to be doing this. You know better than that. And then I would argue. I would always say, well, if this is how it's supposed to be, then get rid of it for me. And saying those words, I mean, it things were ripped out of my life. People came and gone. When they speak to me and they tell me it's time to move, it's time to move.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like we all kind of get that intuitive direction, but it's really up to us on whether we listen to it or whether we're ready to listen to it. And I think, I know for me, I ignore it a lot of times because I'm scared, or I'm like using my rational mind or like the ego mind. And anyway, that's just interesting.
I think if you don't mind me kind of going into you for just a quick second, we'll jump back to me. Like, I think with you is that you you strike me as the kind of person that I wouldn't say you come from ego when you don't listen to it. I think it comes from fear. I think that you get, stop me if I'm wrong. Feel free to call bullshit at any time, or say, I don't think that's right. But it seems like you can kind of worry a little too much.
Oh, yes. And I guess this is a good spot where, I'll probably ask you more questions about you throughout, but we should tell everyone listening that, like I said, this is the first time Chris and I have ever spoken, and he doesn't know anything about me. He looked at my photo so he could at least see me, and we're going to have kind of a special, different episode a little bit where it's not all about him, because he's going to give us an experience of what a reading would be like, and he's already getting into it right now, which is already spot on, because I am definitely a worrier, and it comes from, well, tell me how does this work? So now should I kind of tell you my thoughts and feelings on...
Don't tell me anything.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, going back to the beginning of our conversation, a lot of times what psychics do is they'll fish for shit. They'll drop a dime and expect that and know that person's going to pick it up. I don't ask whenever I give a reading. I usually spend, depending on how long we're doing the reading, like if it's a 30-minute reading, I'll spend the first 10 to 15 minutes going in and giving you exactly what I'm getting from them. Whether you want to call it your guides, your angels, that's what I spend, and then I open the rest of the session up to questions that you have, just whatever you want to ask me.
Got it.
So with you, again, your mind is so complex. It's all over the place at times. I think that there's a little bit of sadness and a little bit of depression in your thinking as well too. A little bit of confidence issues that you've struggled with your whole life. Again, feel free jump in at any time to call bullshit.
So let's just to take a step back, just so I know what I'm doing. So this part, we'll just say we're going into the reading part, and then we'll do the questions part, and then I can circle back to your story. But right now, should I not say anything unless it's not true, and then tell you?
It's not true.
Okay,
yeah,
so just listen for a while.
Right. If it's not true, don't tell me what the true part is. Just say, that's kind of off or whatever, but don't tell me any more than that.
Okay, got it. So I basically just listen. I'm going to be in the back seat, give you the reins for a while, and then you'll tell me when it's question time.
Right.
Okay,
but jump in and just call bullshit at any time, or just say, or if you want to know more, just jump in.
Cool. This is amazing. I'm so excited. Thank you for doing this.
You are welcome. I'm
taking notes.
That's what I get from you. I get that you, when it's kind of a struggle in between you knowing what you need to do and you kind of being the boss at what you want to do, but at the same time there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of hesitation in your decision making in your everyday life. I think the reason for that is because I think that you yourself are somewhat intuitive, and that's what causes the problem for you, is that you are able to you can pick up, or you feel whenever there's tension or there's a reason to be nervous about stuff, you are in tune with that. So that is the reason why some of the confidence issues come, because it's almost like you can sense what the energy or the vibe is like in the room, especially or with a person. You can kind of look at them, and I think when you look at people, you totally scan them. You look at you make mental. You're listening to them and you're talking to them, but when you're looking at them, you're making these mental notes in your head, and you yourself are. A lot of people do that, but it's different for you because you're actually picking up things about them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it does. Wait, maybe say more about that though.
Okay. Like if we were sitting there, if we were having this reading in person, you would be able to. I think it would be a lot more comfortable with you and I, because you would be able to pick up on where I'm coming from. I don't think you would perceive me as a threat or somebody that you had to be on guard with.
Yeah, but I don't see you as a threat right now or feel on guard with you at all.
Right. But it would be even better in person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I already feel very comfortable with you.
Good.
Which doesn't make sense, but I do, which might be like an intuitive thing then.
Totally. Definitely. That's what going more into the reading with you, that's what we're going to want to focus on, is being able to kind of trust what's going on and put the fear or or the doubts that you have, and not where you kind of I as much as vocal as you are and as out there as you are, I also feel like you hold back a lot. So that's kind of where I want to touch with this reading too, is kind of, go into things. There's things that, that I pick up from your childhood. I pick up things that you struggle with on a day-to-day basis, which is, again, you can edit this out. I feel like there's some sort of issues that you have with yourself. Sometimes I'm not saying that you're not confident and that that you're a depressed person, that that you hate yourself, but there's things that you definitely struggle with, and I would have to say that's more of like your self-image.
Yeah.
The way that you look. There's a. Did you? I'm getting, and this could be totally out, but when I go to image, it's usually about like, it's with me. I feel like you lacked confidence in your, again, your physical appearance, whether it's your looks and also I guess weight issues. Did you struggle with weight issues when you were younger?
Yes.
Okay. That's I'm getting that too. Again, I don't know how personal you want me to get.
Yeah.
I pick up like eating disorders.
You're spot on.
Okay, yeah, like were you bulimic?
Not bulimic, but anorexic.
Okay. I pick up on that. I pick up on a lot of crying, a lot of having to force yourself to be in a good mood, to be optimistic, to be confident, to have to put a smile on when you're really not ready to do it. Like, having to go out and make these, whether it's appearances or going out and hanging out with friends, kind of forcing yourself to get out there when your heart's not really into it.
Yeah.
And I think that you might have overcame a lot of that to where you are now, but I still feel like in the back of your mind you struggle with that still. And I think I feel like it affects relationships with you as well too. Because again, you feel so much and you pick up. If you were able to trust your intuition a little bit more, or utilize it a little bit more, in trust what they are telling you, with your guides, your angels, whatever it is that you want to call them, you would see the benefits of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Can I ask a question, or should I wait?
Go ahead, ask a question. As long as it's not steering me toward something else.
No,
you know
it's
what I'm
not.
saying? Like, okay, good.
So you mentioned my guides and intuition and angels. I feel as though I'm guided sometimes. Like I see, repeating numbers, or I just have like moments of like synchronicities in my life. But I think then my rational mind comes up and tries to like rationalize those, or say that they're silly, or discount them. And I want to trust them, and I want to like be more in touch with my guides, or even like know what that really means, or just be more intuitive. How do I do that? I mean, I meditate, and I'm so open to all of this stuff, but I think there's still like part of my rational mind, which maybe is fear. Like, what would you say? How do I connect more?
That's your practical mind. That is your material mind. That where you feel like an ass. Like I do that too sometimes. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like I feel so stupid sometimes for thinking this way, or or what's going on. So
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, that is going to come out. Well, I shouldn't say whether you like it or not. Look forward to that coming out. It's going to happen no matter what. And I kind of feel, what is the relationship with your mother like? Because I kind of feel like there's
yeah, that's so spot on.
there's some sort of connection with your mother and her in her frame of mind and her thinking that you get from her. If you were to tell me that you had a bad relationship with your mom, I'd believe it, but at the same time, I would say that there's a lesson there to be learned with your mother. whether she has the ability or she's open to it as well, you get it from her. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, well, I don't know if hopefully this isn't steering you, but when you said that, like, that definitely resonates and definitely feels true for me. My relationship with my mom is complicated. I mean, I always have to say, like, pop-ups, especially because we're recording. Like, she's a lovely, amazing person, but of course it's complicated. But my fear voice, I think she wants me to be safe before she wants me to be happy, you know? So I think there's, like, a lot of protection. I'm an only child, and, you know, my mom never remarried, and so we spent a lot of time together growing up, and very, like, close bond. And I think that caused a lot of, you know, like, I crave this independence, and that I feel is connected there. And so when you said that piece about, or my fear voice that I keep kind of mentioning, it's funny that you brought up my mom, like, as we were talking about being more intuitive, because my fear voice and my rational voice sounds a lot like my mom's voice keeping me safe in my mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's your fear voice in that practical side of you is what you rely on to comfort yourself at times. It's to kind of keep you. You have amazing self-control. Whether I don't care what you went through. I mean, not that I don't care, but what you went through growing up and the things that you struggled with, you have to look at yourself and realize that even though you went through those struggles, you were strong enough to go through them without falling to the point where you gave up. So always trust that you. Is it fair to say? Would you agree with that? To say that you have amazing self-control?
Yes, been told that I'm very disciplined, and I can be very disciplined.
It's It's hard for somebody like you to feel comfortable in a world like this. Does that make sense? It just doesn't. It with all the shit that's going on and all like the, you know, everything. The way that everyone looks at things, it always has to be pleasing to the eye. Everyone's so superficial and so materialistic when it comes to things. And I think that with you in your soul and who you are as a person, as a being, is so sensitive and so sensitive to your surroundings and what's going on, that you pick up on that, and it doesn't feel good sometimes. And you. I want to make sense about this. Jumping a couple steps back to when you said, you know, that you want to trust your intuition. I think a lot of times people would do themselves justice if they trust in themselves a little bit more, if they went inside instead of looking for outside influences to make them feel better, if they took the time to go inside. And that's what's going to happen with you. I think within 2017, before the end of 2017, even before summer, a lot of things are going to start clicking to you. You are going to start utilizing your intuition a lot more. Even though you are, I don't know what it is that you do for work-wise other than the podcast, but to me it feels like you've worked so much on your outward appearance, on your outward appearance and things that make you feel in somewhat of your inside. But for you, this is going to be a more personal transformation. Your thought process is going to change. You're actually going to start coming into yourself a little bit more and feeling more comfortable with who you are and what you are here to do.
Cool.
It is it's going to be more about you, more about being comfortable enough to let go. There's going to be a lot of release before summer of 2017 for you, because you're going to be thinking a lot. You're constantly thinking, but this is more of like an evolution for you, more of a transformation. Things are going to, I don't want to give you too much of a futuristic type reading, and it's not a cop-out. I just don't want, I can do damage to people that way. You know, they'll spin their wheels and actually, you know, try to make something happen that I say instead of letting it happen organically. But with you, it's going to be a lot of thinking, a lot of mental clearing, a lot of, you know, I just don't want to feel this way anymore. I just want to be able to kind of put it behind me once and for all, not really put it behind you and avoid it, but deal with it and just put it away for good.
Ooh, I like that.
I know the reading's all over the place. I just,
No, this is great. I love it. I'm following you.
It's a personal journey for you. I think that you are ready. I think that, again, I would want you to focus more on being authentically happy and comfortable with yourself within, rather than just saying that you are. And that's going to change again. By like before, they keep showing me before summer of 2017, and wherever this is at, wherever this release is going to be at, I don't feel like it's on the West Coast. I think you're gonna travel somewhere, and I see what I see when this happens is there's going to be water, whether it's like a lake or ocean or a bay or something like that, but there's a bridge right above it. So there'll be a bridge in your vision, and that's where the thought process is going to come. There's going to be, whether it's on a vacation or you go to the beach, or there's water and there's a bridge there. So just make a note of that. It's not here yet. It has not happened. So kind of make a note of that and hold on to that, because it's not going to make sense to you right now. But that's where I see like this epiphany, if you will, taking place. It's kind of like I don't know if you're the kind of person that likes to take time for themselves and kind of go off to go meditate and go think about things, or you get in the car and you drive and listen to music to kind of blow some steam off. But wherever this release is going to be at, it's going to be by yourself, next to water.
Cool. I'm writing that down. I'm taking so many notes.
Yeah, jump in anytime.
No, I'm just taking it all in. So the water bridge thing, you think that's more of a vacation, or is that more of like a move, and you think it's in the spring?
It's going towards summertime. It's going to be warm out. It's going to be a vacation. It's not going to be a move, unless you're thinking about going. I don't see you living there. I kind of see you where you're at. You're visiting that spot. And there's some kind of a weird looking bridge that cars pass over. Not a small little bridge. It's big. It's some kind of, I don't want to say artistic structure bridge, but it's a bridge. It looks either beige or white type iron, or it's painted that color, and it's really high up, and there's water underneath it.
Okay. Cool.
Again, don't spin your wheels on it. It'll be funny when you see it.
Okay. And I'll tell you.
Do you have any questions so far in regards to the reading, or?
Yeah, I mean, everything has been spot on. Is it okay for me to say that?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all of the mommy issues, all of the, I wrote down the one thing you said, focus on being authentically happy from within instead of just pretending that you are. That, really hit me hard.
I know that sounds shitty, but you, again, with that self-control, you project we all do it. We project who we want to be and how we want to come across to the public or people that we are around. I want you to focus on actually being that person that you're portraying. I'm not saying that you're fake at all, but we don't like to talk about our problems to people a lot. We don't like people asking, is everything okay? We just don't. We save face, and we kind of go out there and we put that brave face on, but in the back of our minds, in the back of our heads, those problems are still there. It's going to be a huge release for you when you realize that you've had, how can I put this? That you've had the ability or the power to let go at any time. It's fear with you. It's fear and hesitation. Again, I saw a picture of you, but I don't know how you interact. I don't know your body language. I don't know how you come across. But as positive as you come across to your audience or to the people that you're speaking to in front of, there's still that hesitation. And people can say, well, that's true for everyone. But with you, it hits you hard. Again, I see tears. I see crying. I see a lot of even. Are you in a relationship?
Yeah, kind of a newer thing.
Okay. It's a fear of it's almost like you feel like you don't deserve some of the things that happen to you, and also that you don't deserve, and that you are worried it's going to be taken away from you.
Yeah.
And it's not. That is your lesson. That is what you're going to learn in 2017. And you the reason why people are going to say, well, how come she, I give readings all the time, and I always tell people, it's either 2-3 years out, this is what's going to happen or whatever, because that's how long it takes that person to go through that process of having to let go. Again, with your self-control and the way that you think, it's a matter of picking you up and say, come on, let's go do it. It's not that you don't know what to do. It's that you, whether it's depression or that fear again, that causes you not to want to get up and go forward, that feeling is going to go away. You're going to be like, fuck it, I'm ready, let's go.
Cool. So it's just going to happen naturally. I don't need to make moves, or I'll be guided, and I just follow the guidance.
It's going to happen naturally, but after you thinking, after you putting things together, you realizing where it's going. A lot of things are going to be revealed to you, and that's going to happen within the next. I'd say before the end of December. A lot of thinking about this reading, and also too. Somebody else had given you advice to, or had, and I wouldn't go so far as to say a reading. So I don't know if this is a therapist or a good friend that is a therapist, or that you bounce stuff off of too. They had told you some things earlier in the year that had made sense to you too, that you're going to be thinking about before this year's up to, along with what I'm telling you now. And those things are going to start to connect. So I want you to start to pay attention to your thoughts and start really, really thinking about what they are telling you, your guides, your dreams too, all the symbols that you get, all the synchronicities that you kind of think, well, is it just in my mind? Stop thinking that way. Start paying attention to it and let it guide you. And you're going to want to play with it. You can test it out. You being kind of like not so much a skeptic, but more on the practical side. Start playing with it. Start asking them, well, if this is true, give me another sign. Or if this is the way it should go, make something happen to confirm that this is where I should be going, and they will give it to you.
Okay, so asking for confirmation.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Putting it out there, am I for instance, is this guy the right one for me? Give me some sort of confirmation, or let me know this is going in the right direction. And that person will usually say something to you that you might not jive with, and you want to make it work, but pay attention to it, because sometimes it's in the interim. It's to kind of get you to see what's in store for you. So these people come in as a temporary spot just to show you what's to come. So kind of pay attention to that and play with it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. It's the thing you said about the therapist and the other reading. I did have another reading earlier this year that opened my eyes to some things, and then my therapist kind of said some of the same things that this other reading told me, and then you mentioned both of those, which is crazy and really cool. You need to start trusting yourself. I shouldn't say you need, but it would be wise for you to let go, because you are the one that's holding yourself back, not career-wise, but life-wise, but feeling-wise. It is so difficult when you're struggling with what you struggled with your life, in the thoughts that you've had and the things that you've seen. But it should never hold you back. You're stronger than that. That's when I'm going to go back to your self-control. You would never, if you were to tell me that you were suicidal and that you suffer from depression, I would believe what you said, but I would have to tell you, I would tell you, this is because you're allowing it to take over. You are not
and no disrespect to people that actually struggle from it, but it's your fear. It's you that's holding yourself back. You can get up at any time and say, you know what, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to happen. I almost, without sounding hokey, without sounding love and light, and in namaste type stuff, you're gifted. You're blessed. You're here to speak. You're here. You. A lot of times, what psychologists and therapists do is they read a lot of books. They don't have, no disrespect to them either, they don't have the life experience. You have the life experience. You have the experience to sit there and talk to somebody that's going through the same shit that you're going through and say, you know what? I've been there. I know exactly what you're going through. That's your job. You're here. That's what you're going to do in this lifetime, is to speak, is to help, is to guide. I don't know if you feel that. Again, feel free to call bullshit anytime. But that's what I feel like you're here to do. You're here to make a difference. You will write about it. You will speak about it. I see tons of traveling in your future.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, it's funny. This is kind of a theme that's been coming up career-wise on my podcast, and without telling you too much about what I do, but I kind of do a bunch of things. So I've been feeling like a jack of all trades, master of none, and trying to get advice from everyone on how I handle that or how I focus, or I've just been craving focus. And this year in 2017, without even trying at all, last year I wrote a book and I had it come out. Hopefully that's not too much to tell you, but it came out in 2016. And then, but this year in 2017, there have been like 3 or 4 speaking things that have just come to me and fallen in my lap that are in different spots around that I'm traveling to and doing. And I didn't know that it was somewhere where I want to focus, but I'm excited to focus there. And you kept saying you are here to speak, which I wrote down, which I loved. So maybe, that's where I focus. And I still want to write, and I still want to make things and be creative. I am still craving more focus, but maybe I should just go with where I'm guided, which right now it sounds like speaking.
They're telling me right now. I was going to cut you off. They are telling me to tell you to let go of that fear, that deep down inside what it is that you want to do. You're just worried that it's not going to be either accepted or it's not going to pan out the way that you want it to. So does that make sense to you? Don't tell me what it is that you want to do, but that's what they're telling me, is that she knows what she wants to do. She has it in her head where she wants to go, and this is something that goes back to when you were younger. I'm not going to say a little girl. I'd say preteen, going into your teens, of what it is that you want to do. So focus. So and if you don't remember that, that's fine. Whether you like it or not, before the end of this year, things are going to start to click for you. Mentally, you're going to get more hits, if you will, more visions, if you will, more signs, dreams, kind of like that nagging type feeling, like, fuck, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, but what is it? That's the time that you go into yourself and you ask, show me. It's going to be difficult for you because you're going to have to master. You're going to have to master your intuition. You're gonna have to play and see, okay, well, how does this work? Again, for me, it's different. I've always been this way. I don't know any other way. I've always relied on it. I didn't have anybody to teach or guide me. I mean, I had my dad to tell me, what do you see, or to kind of nurture it and say, it's okay. You're not going crazy. But for the most part, all the lessons I've gone through, I had to go on my own. And that's what's going to be difficult for you, is because you're already older and you're going to have to sit there. It's kind of like going back to school. You got to figure out what works best for you. To tweak it, you will do that. That's where that self-control comes in, because you're going to play with your. It sounds gross, but you're going to play with yourself and kind of test where this is going or how this works for you. you're very you're not only emotional, but you're very intuitive. You get flashes of shit. You are very sensitive to your environment. I would fight you tooth and nail if you said, no, I don't really feel that. I would say because you're not paying attention. But I think you know what I'm talking about. You're very sensitive to who you're around and where you're at.
Yeah.
And where you're living now, I don't see you living there long term.
That really resonates. Both of those things. It's
time to go for where you're at. There's something. It's stagnant where you're at. I feel like maybe you're comfortable and you're used to it, but it's time. It's time to move. It's time to move. Not right away, but it's time to move forward.
Wow. Yeah. Should I say more about that, or just tell you that that's spot on?
No, go ahead. Tell me.
Oh my goodness, so many things. Well, let me just touch on the intuitive thing. Mm-hmm. I feel that so much, and I feel like I cut that off sometimes. Like I ignore it, or I just, I just shut that off. And so that just relates. And then the time to go, time to move. I've been contemplating a move in spring of 2017. And really just kind of back and forth about it. And actually last night had a conversation with someone about it that was, making me question it even more. But I kept saying it just feels right and I just have to. And I couldn't really rationalize it that well. Mm-hmm. But then you said that, and it's something I've been thinking about for years. And I live in the same place where I grew up, and where I think this connects back to my mom, and you can say more there, but I think that distance is something that is needed, but also scary because of the comfort. And I don't live right in the same place, but I live close enough. Anyway, I don't know. Does any of that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Here's people are going to say, well, is that easy? What I'm about to tell you, it is that easy. Only do it when you're good and ready to do it. You and I are very similar. Again, if we were having this conversation,
I feel like that too.
If we were having this conversation in person, it would probably last way into the night, because we'd be talking and bouncing shit back and forth with each other. Because I'm psychic, and because I see things that most people don't see, it scares me a lot. So I kind of hesitate, and I'm like, oh God, it's going to hurt. I don't want to do it. I recently, again, the last 2 years have been a whirlwind for me. I have changed so much. Again, I left my old life behind. I completely changed who I was. I was ready to. They had told me, look at everything that you've gone through. It's leading you up to this. Don't be afraid. We will take care of you. And again, going back to the Taurus thing, money is a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
I'm not materialistic, but I like to know that I have a solid foundation under me. And they had told me, we are going to take everything away from you that you are comfortable with, to let you know that those are just material possessions. Wherever you go is where you can make your home at. I'm like, okay, but what about my kids? They need to eat. I need to have a roof over my head. And they reminded me of things that had happened in my earlier life, where they were like, we took care of you. You didn't think you were going to survive. You trusted, and look, nothing happened. I said, okay, I'm going to trust in what's going on. I'm going to let go. And I did. I said, do whatever it is that you need to do to have me let go and point me in the direction that I need to go in. They ripped everything that no longer suited me. That includes family. Again, going back to where I said, who needs enemies when you have family? I had to let go. I had to realize that, that even though, we are family, doesn't mean I'm tied to you, and that because we are family, that I can't say what I need to say to you. I got taken advantage of emotionally, and I let it go. Old relationships, and I said, again, going back to that, get rid of anything that no longer suits me. When you are ready to do it, I wouldn't advise you to do it. And I want you to think about stuff I want you to think about everything we're talking about before you do it. But when you are ready to make that change, let go. Don't force anything to happen. Let everything happen on its own naturally. I'm not saying don't to be dumb and don't make any decisions, but you will be guided. It is time for you.
Are we talking about, what are we talking about here? Just in general with family, the move, and my career?
With your purpose. That's all going to tie in together. You are ready. Before by summer of 2017, it's only a few months away. What you are here to do will make better sense to you. I feel like you are ready. I feel like you are ready for your purpose, to know what your purpose is, to kind of start going. People that you are used to are going to be gone. Your ways of thinking, it's going to be. There's going to be major changes there. For the better. It's time to let go. It's going to make better sense to you again going into 2017 of where your future is, where you're going to go. Because I think that's the biggest thing for you. What am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing in this life? It can't just be this, my podcast and this is that. There has to be more. That's going to be revealed to you. You've been asking for that. That's coming.
Okay. Cool. And I just wait and be open for it.
No, you put it out there.
Okay.
Put it out there. I'm ready for you to tell me what it is. Pay attention to what's going on. A lot of times people, I'm Native American. I follow animal totems, and every time, this is going to sound so silly and maybe a little hokey, but every time a cat comes into play with me, whenever they're, and I'm not a cat lover. I'm actually allergic to them. Mm-hmm. Cats will come up to me all the time. I mean, stray cats. They're just attracted to me for some reason. Whenever a cat comes into my life or crosses my path, I know there's a major change coming. Pay attention to things like that too. So I don't know what it is that you keep seeing, whether it's an animal or a situation. Pay attention to it.
Okay. Can I tell you?
Yes, please.
So I've been seeing a lot of repeating numbers, and I particularly just kind of like, I feel like I kind of made one my sign. It's seeing lots of 2s. Mm-hmm. And it's almost become a joke. Like when I see them so often and they are following me and they kind of tell me when I'm in the flow, and I've just chosen to make that my sign.
Your
and I can tell when I'm out of what?
Like your personal number?
Yeah, I've just kind of when I'm out of the flow, I don't see them, but I've chosen to notice them, I guess. Does that make sense? Is that like a good one?
Yeah, but here's the thing. When you see that number, when you see the number 2, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Just like a smile, like it's like a wink from the universe, like thank you. That's the thing.
So so does that usually happen when you've asked for something, or how does that work with you when you see that? Like, is it like, okay, that's my sign. I knew that was the right thing to do. Yeah,
can I give you an example?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was having this situation that was stressful. Like my flight was canceled and I wasn't able to get on a new flight. I needed to get back, one of those whole air travel situations. And this woman who was so kind to me on the Alaskan Airlines flight was like, okay, I'm going to get you booked on this new flight. We got it all figured out. It's at a better time. It's flight number 222 and or 2222. And I literally just laughed. I was just like, of course it is. It was just funny almost to me. Disbelief is what I feel from it. How is this even my life? And then I told it to everyone I was with, because I talk about, and just before that I was with a bunch of people. I was in Hawaii actually, and I saw a bunch of trash cans that said 222 on the trash cans, and I saw a license plate that said 222, and I was mentioning that to the people I was around, and then this flight thing happened, and then that was the flight number, and it was just one thing after the next. So does that make sense? That's kind of, it's disbelief how I react to it usually.
So let's jump back 3 or 4 steps to when I said that you need to start trusting in what it is that you're seeing, and trusting in your own intuition. Again, start playing with that. because what you and I tend to do sometimes is we tend to have too much self-control. Not only self-control, but we want to control everything around us at times because we feel like it has to be done. To us, it's always a priority. And I'm talking just you and I, not everybody else, but you and I. It's like we must do this. Nobody else understands why we go about it, and we're so hardcore about what we want to do. But to us, that's remember when I told you they were telling me we're going to get rid of everything that you are used to. Everything that you hold on to, or that you feel like you need in order to survive, we're going to get rid of it to let you know you don't need any of that stuff. That's what's happening to you. Not as hardcore as it was for me, but what they're wanting you to do is, again, to trust in yourself. Get out of your material frame of mind. I know that sounds weird. Start using your intuition, the spiritual side of you. Again, before summer of 2017, it's going to make better sense to you. The spirituality is going to take over. That is why you and I are talking.
Yeah. It's weird. So I reached out to you. Well, I heard you on Alexi's podcast, and then I forgot about this until now that we're talking and you were saying how we're similar. I remember just feeling this connection with you and being like, I don't know what it was. Maybe that we were similar. I also feel like I'm similar with Alexi. So I was just like relating to the reading you were giving her and the way that you were interacting with her. And I just related to you, and I wanted to have a conversation with you, and I wanted to like share you on the podcast. And so I reached out like right away or soon after. But that was months ago. That was like a really, really long time ago now that we're actually recording this now. And in that time, I honestly forgot. Like I totally forgot. Obviously you seem lovely over email, but like I just kind of didn't think about it much and didn't, think about you much and didn't think about why I reached out. And then today talking to you, I'm like flooded with this connection and excitement, getting back to what I felt the first time I connected with you. So anyway, I don't even know why I'm saying all of this, but it's just how I'm feeling.
Because what I was saying, that if we were to meet in person, we would spend hours and hours talking, because you and I, there's no bullshit. There would be no BS. We would feel so comfortable sharing things that we have friends that we've been friends with for a long time. But to me, I don't want to sound hokey, but to me it would be more of a comfort, more of like, I don't need to have my guard up when I'm speaking to her or to Chris.
Yeah.
I can be myself. Trust what I'm saying when I tell you you're going to come into yourself. It is time for you. It is time to let go of those fears and the hesitations that you have. I want you to go back to when you were a little girl, or even a couple months ago or a few weeks ago, to when you were thinking about they're showing me this, and you probably did it yesterday too or whatever, but going back to what you were thinking about, what your purpose is and what your goal is. Don't be afraid anymore. Let it happen on its own. I don't see you getting yourself into something that you can't get yourself out of. It's just not in your nature.
Ooh, that's big, because I was just saying with this person I was having a conversation with last night about my move that I fear regret. Like and I have so many control issues, which you've already touched on, that are coming up in this relationship that I'm in. And, that's probably like a whole other can of worms, but wanting to control everything. I really like being able to look forward to things. Like I like to have things to look forward to. And I also am super afraid of regret. So I think those two things kind of keep me stagnant and here. And the move brings up a lot of those things of like being afraid I'll regret it, or being afraid just in general. So I don't know.
Because of your self-control and because of who you are as you, this is not generalized to anybody else, but to you, you got to trust yourself. You would never put yourself in a position that would be detrimental to yourself. You might date a guy that's kind of, the stupid things that we do. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to major life decisions like a move in your career, you gotta trust yourself, man. You really gotta let go of that fear and that hesitation. And once you, again, because I feel you, and I was in that spot. When you realize that you've let go, that feeling, that responsibility, the feeling that we get like, oh God, I can't describe how good it feels to not have to worry like the way you used to worry before. Trust what I'm saying. Okay. It is your time. It is the universe, whatever, wants you to let go.
Okay. I really love that. So what should I do if I feel disconnected from my guides, or I don't feel intuitive, or I'm cutting off communication? What do I do to get back into the flow, or what do you do, or like what is some advice that anybody can do, I guess, but me specifically, or us, or in general, if it's possible?
I walk away from it for a little bit. I get up, I get in the car, I go for a drive. I get up from where I was sitting at, kind of walk around and say, okay, well, it'll come back to me. You gotta stop forcing things to happen.
Okay.
Let it. Again, you are so guided, and you're so in tune with things. You have to. You honestly, I mean, has anything? I mean, have you really effed up?
Like in my life?
Yeah.
No.
Don't realize that you only have control over, I guess this is going to sound stupid, over your decisions, but you don't have control of how it happens. You got to stop forcing things to happen. If you don't, let's say this guy that you're dating, if you don't feel 100% connected to him, or you're kind of like, enjoy it for what it is, but don't say, I'm not feeling I want to, because you don't know what type of information they're going to provide to you, or what they're going to say, because again, it's in the interim. They're here. I'm not saying that this isn't going to work out with you with this person, but they're here to prepare you for what's coming next. It's things that they're going to say. It's a lesson. So take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
When is your birthday?
April 30th, 1990.
Okay, so you are 1 degree Leo moon in your 8th house. Your moon is in your 8th house, and your sun is in your 5th house. And you're a Sag rising. Honey, you...
What does that mean? I don't know what any of that means.
It's good. I know. I don't want to spend the time on astrology,
no, it's okay.
Mark my words, things are going to change for you before summer of 2017. Yeah. A lot more clarity is going to come into you.
Okay.
Just start trusting in yourself. It's a good thing we're recording this. You can always go back to it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing I have connected, because now you can reach out to me anytime.
Yeah, I'm going to.
I don't want to give too much of a futuristic type reading, other than to tell you that these changes are coming. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, but trust me, after all the shit that you've been through, it's going to be nothing. It's going to be a release.
Okay.
Kind of like, this whole time, you will get irritated, which everyone's going to be like, because you're going to be, this whole time I was holding, when I could have just let go.
Mm-hmm.
When I could have just been myself, when and not have tried to manipulate or control, or manipulate is such a hard word, but manipulate certain situations. All I had to do was just let it happen. It was that easy.
Yeah.
That's going to be the mentality.
Okay. I like that. This was so great. I feel like I just got like a tune-up or something.
You can go and see 100 different psychics, and you can, again, I have what I do is completely different. I don't like to blow smoke up anyone's ass, and I don't like to come, there's nothing wrong with love and light and coming from that arena, and the whole namaste thing. To me, when you go see, you can go see 100 different psychics, and they'll always come back with the more general type thing for you. I feel like what the person needs is, like you said, a tune-up. Mm-hmm. Just tell me That's how I'd want somebody to tell me. Just tell me what I need to do, or tell me what it is that I need to do so I can feel better or I can move forward. Don't tell me to burn a white candle and to pray for light or whatever. That's not helping the situation.
Yeah.
I always tell my clients when I read them, I'll read you maybe 2 or 3 times, but that's about it. Because what ends up happening is you become codependent on me. You can't make a decision without calling me. I want you to make the decision. I'm not talking about you personally, but I want that person to be able to make the decision on their own and not have to rely on a psychic or somebody else's advice. That they have to. You were born alone. You came into this world alone. You have to get up and walk yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, nobody can do the walk for you. Nobody can live your life for you. And if you're constantly living in fear, or you constantly have to take the advice from somebody else, what are you doing? How are you making your life better? You're not doing anything on your own. You're relying on somebody else.
Yeah.
And you're going to realize that. You're going to be able to trust in yourself. I don't know what the other person told you during your reading or whatever, but I would have to say too that you're an old soul, and that's why I feel like you and I connect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got that before.
You just strike me as somebody. Even as a little girl, if I was to see you as a little girl, I would see you thinking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking and observing and thinking. You look at somebody, and right away you pinpoint certain things about them. Start trusting that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to start doing a lot more trusting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go, 2 questions I want to ask you. I'm curious to know, so I think this would be interesting before I ask you these 2 questions. So my friend Deanna, who was on the podcast, we were talking about psychics, somehow it came up, and she was saying that, which I think it sounds like you are really conscious of, which I love, that years ago she saw a psychic, and her mom had just passed away, and she saw a psychic, or maybe a medium, I don't know, maybe both, whatever, and the psychic gave her this reading that said, the next 2 years of your life are going to be horrible and terrible, and then things are going to get better. Mm-hmm. And it was true. They were. Like, she said that they were horrible and terrible, but she kind of wished that psychic hadn't told her that, because and there is maybe more to the story, but she kind of felt like maybe it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, or B, yes, it was true, but, maybe she could have somehow sugarcoated it or not said that. But the point is, and the reason I bring this up is that it sounds like you kind of protect people you're conscious of protecting people from telling them things that are helpful, and steering clear of things that would take them in a direction information they don't need to know. Does my question make sense? Like, how do you handle that in your readings?
That goes with what I told you when I tell my clients that I'll only read them 2 or 3 times and that's it. I don't go too far into the future with people, even though I do see what's coming up, because what they'll do is they'll spin their wheels on it, or they'll live in fear, and that's not what I want to do to people. I want to tell them, look, it's going to be challenging. Like I told you, there's going to be good and bad times for you too, but you will get over this. Mm-hmm. You don't. That's what they do, is they put fear into people, because what does that get them to do? Oh my God, remember when you told me that the next 2 years were going to be horrible? You wouldn't believe what's happening. That gets them to come back in and give that person money. Mm. And with the medium thing and the whole, talking to them, I don't, because the medium thing doesn't always work for me. The way that I look at it is that sometimes they're just not here anymore. They don't want to linger. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they come back because when I get the messages from the medium side, they'll come to me and they'll say, they'll tell me to tell that person something. They have a one last thing to say to somebody, and that's it. Or that person's struggling with things, and the person on the other side knows, but they don't always come through.
That makes sense.
I don't believe in putting fear into people.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I would hate, I growing up and seeing what I've seen in going, because I was trying to figure out what these things were that I was seeing and what I was getting. I would go and test psychics. And I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the shit they would say.
Just fake stuff?
Fake stuff, yeah. Like, oh my God, you have a curse put on you. What I'm going to need, it's going to cost about, I know it's going to sound expensive. It's going to cost about $500, but I'm going to go get a 9-foot candle, and I'm going to take, because you you can't burn it in your house because of the spirits. I will burn it for you. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But
man. Well, it just shows your professionalism, and like the work that you do is so spot on and good. So
that is my reputation.
Yeah.
If I would be done. If I was providing false hope or giving fake readings, what does that say about me? How many people are going to write in and say that guy is a fake? That's your whole. What are you doing?
Yeah, totally. And you can just tell you're genuine, you know?
I try to be. I talk to people the way that I want people to talk to me.
Right.
And there's some people that are just too sensitive that I have to go easy with it on. I mean, there's people that I don't want to read, or that'll come in for a reading, and I will tell them, I can't give you, you're not ready to hear what I have to say, so you can ask me questions, I will answer your questions, but as far as giving you a predictive type reading, you're not ready for it.
That's interesting.
I don't want to be the reason why somebody hurts himself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I was going to ask you, the last thing I really wanted to ask you that I'm curious about, so I want to know from both sides, what are some things that people should do before to prepare themselves for having a reading? Like, should they journal or meditate or spend time with themselves, or come to you with questions, or just be really open? And then I would love to know on the other side of that, like, what do you do to prepare for a reading? Like, do you have to prepare yourself? Do you have to do any rituals, or, what are some of your kind of routines? So both of those questions.
Okay. So the first one, I always say, if you're going to go get a reading, that you do not provide, other than your name, you do not provide any type of information. And I have a quick story to go with this. A good friend of mine had told me that there was a couple of readers that were in town and we should go see them. And I was like, okay. And she said, they're kind of different. One of them, the one is a psychic and the other one is intuitive artist. They will draw what that person's getting. I said, okay. I said, and we were on our way over there, and I said, wait a minute, stop. My guides had said, this is going to be a lesson for her. I said, when we go in there, keep your mouth shut. Don't tell them anything. Don't other than your name. And if they start describing things to you, try to keep a straight face. And don't say yes or no. Wait till they finish and see what they have to say. So we go in there, and this is a good friend of mine. I'm obviously gay. We go in there, and they right away, oh my God, it is so funny. And we're like, well, what's going on? You guys are so in love with each other. And it's funny because I'm getting these visions that she can't keep her hands off of you. She's like climbing over the rafters to come, to devour you. I mean, what's going on here? And I looked at my friend and we were like, oh my, we didn't want to call them out. We kept it professional. And I told her, that's what they do. So you go in there, you just go in there, just if you have to give them your name, but don't tell them anything else. Let them do their job. Let them read you. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, well, that's a cold reading. Well, I do a lot of my readings over the phone. I can't, I'm not able to see that person. The only reason why I got to see a picture of you is because you're a public figure. But the majority of the time I don't get to see who these people are, so I can't cold read. And that's why I tell you from the beginning, don't tell me anything other than that's bullshit or no. And then what I do to prepare myself for a reading is I just ask, okay, well, what's the first thing I need to tell this person? What's the first thing that's coming to mind? And then I use that, and that's what I started with you. This is what they're telling me. They're telling me this, and that. I see these issues that you had growing up with with your image, and the edit this out, the eating disorder and things like that.
Wow, yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like your goal is just to be useful, which I love.
It's to make people better. It's to motivate people to be at their best, to realize that they have the power to change themselves. They don't need anybody else or any type of gimmicks. Sometimes they just need someone to point them in the right direction. And then I just walk away.
That's really cool. This was so amazing. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that we're friends. I'm so grateful that you were able to do the podcast. So you touched a little bit on how your readings work. You said you do them over email, and then you also do them over the phone, and then in person, and then you also have events. How would you recommend someone new to all of this who maybe listened to this and was like, oh, that was really interesting hearing more about Katie and more about how, this was so helpful for me, and obviously hearing how spot on you are, but how would you suggest someone new to this kind of starts?
For me personally, if they're interested in getting a reading from me, I ask them to do their research. I ask them to go on my website, which is chrismedina.guide. And I have all my appearances on there. There's some television interviews on there. There's a lot of podcast type stuff on there to kind of listen for themselves and to decide right then and there whether or not I would be the person they would need to speak to.
Yeah. I think they'll be able to feel it. Like, that's kind of how I felt when I heard you on another podcast. You can, through this conversation, I feel like they'll know or not if you're kind of the guy for them, Like, I looked at your picture and I knew, like I said, if this was in person, we would probably finish right now and go have lunch and go and talk and just kind of like, well, what's going on, blah, 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 and just get to know there's just, I guess, just the best way is to kind of listen for yourself, take a look for yourself, and then make your own decision. Cool. Yeah. And so you do everything from phone consultations to email?
No email, phone consultations, Skype, in person, depending on where you're at. Or where I'm at. A lot of appearances. I do gallery type readings where people, will want me for events, for like parties and stuff, and I'll do readings there and things like that. Yeah.
Very cool. I don't know where I got the idea about email, but this was amazing. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that the name of this podcast is Let It Out? Is there anything else that you want to let out, either about me or about anyone listening, or about like the year ahead for everyone, or just in general, anything else that you feel like you want to share?
We'll start with you. Okay. Again, come into yourself. Start trusting yourself. You have made a friend with me, so you reach out to me anytime.
Thank you.
To get a hold of me, I'm going to let it out. Follow me at Psychic Chris M, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. My website's chrismedina.guide.
I'll have all of those links in the show notes too.
Yeah, take a look and see for yourself. Predictions for the year ahead. Watch out for this political crap. Things are going to blow people's minds with these changes that are coming up. So, again, if you want to know more, reach out.
Yeah. Well, we'll follow. We'll at least be friends on social media in the meantime. Yeah. Cool. Amazing. We did it. Thank you. Yeah. Well, there you guys have it. You got to hear lots of intimate details of my life. I hope you enjoyed the episode with Chris Medina. Again, different episode than the usual. I probably should have said this at the beginning, but if this is your first time listening, this is not usually how they go. Usually it's less about me and more about the guest, but this was a special circumstance. So if you're still listening at this point and it didn't freak you out too much, thank you. And I hope you check out some of the other episodes and some of the episodes I do in the future. And tweet at me, tweet at Chris, what you thought of the episode. Let us know. And the emoji for this episode, what did we decide it was this week? Professor? Oh, yeah, the detective. The detective. He's a new emoji. He has a mustache. He's very cute. And tweeted us that emoji, the detective emoji. I think it's very fitting for this episode. You're being a detective of your life, figuring out, what's happening in the future, how you work best as a person. So tweeted us the detective emoji. You can just comment it on my Instagram or tweet it at me at Chris will know what you mean. Leave us any questions that you have. And I love you guys. I will see you next week. Bye. Bye.